Yeah. What's happening?
Mate, not much. Finals time, your Roosters.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. You just don't know. I think everyone has Melbourne and Penrith as the top two, and the one that can challenge is obviously Roosters if they get it right, but can they play that game to do it?
I was saying to Maddie, like, if you were to find out Roosters won the comp, they have to win this week, because otherwise the death seat.
Yeah.
You go to the other side and probably play Melbourne
yeah.
and then probably have to come back at Penrith.
Yeah.
So you just got to win.
So you're playing them 3 times, all those top 2 teams.
Yeah,
it's hard.
And their style of play, you just can't.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think they just got to play like they did against Melbourne in the grand final, that first half.
Boys. Enough
Sorry,
of this. Rat's ass.
That's right.
Sticky NRL right in your chunder. It's now time for True Crime. And Toby, where are we going today?
Mate, the Menendez Brothers, famous crime in 1989. One of the first televised murder trials in America, in Hollywood. So Lyle and Erik, 1989, August the 20th. So Netflix has got a story coming out, a doco coming out soon about it with new evidence and that. So Lyle and Erik walked into the den where their parents were watching TV with shotguns loaded and just unloaded on both of them, blew them away. Now, the hatred for the parents must have been so great that the mum actually survived the initial attempt of murder. Erik went out, reloaded his shotgun, come back in and put the shotgun to her head and blew away again. So they then went out. They called the police, and we've got the 911 call here, the actual call that Erik made to the police.
Beverly Hills emergency.
Yes, police.
What's the problem?
Sounds,
What's the problem? What's the problem?
someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Are they still there?
Yes.
The people...
No.
Were they shot?
Hey, man,
Were they shot?
Yes.
They were shot?
Yes.
102, 722 North Elmore.
What happened?
Toby, so as I said to Brian in the break, I don't know the Menendez story, and it's coming out on Netflix. Can I ask, so it's the 2 sons involved.
Yep.
Do you know how old they were at the time?
Yeah, 19 and 21.
Right.
So they were very young. And so everyone just thought, because they came from a rich family living in Beverly Hills, big mansion, that they just did it for the money. And because what happened was after the murders, they went out, they've pardon the pun, but they sort of shot themselves in the foot by doing this. They went out and bought cars and Rolexes and things like that. Had they not done that, I guarantee, we were talking about me and Brooks before, I don't reckon they get found guilty. So they called the police turned up. They said they were watching Batman at the movies. And then I think it was Erik or one of them was talking to his psychologist, Erik, and he admitted that he killed his parents. And the psychologist then told the police. So then there's that confidential thing. They said it should be inadmissible. So it got allowed in. They got arrested. One of them was in, Erik was over in Israel. He handed himself in when he flew back on March 8th the next year, 1990. Lyle was arrested.
So, sorry, just before that.
What's the timeline there?
Yeah.
About 8 months.
What were they saying? So that call saying they killed them.
No, they said, the call was, they said
story?
someone had murdered their parents. So at first they thought it was like a cartel hit, like because how violent it was. And then it sort of come around, like the police didn't test them for residue on their hands or like, the gun residue.
So it was all, it sounds a bit sus.
So they ended up getting found, so they got arrested.
Yep.
Can I just ask this, Tobe? Sorry, mate. How long did it take for them to become genuine suspects? Was it a long way down the track?
No, I don't think they were at all until one of them admitted. But they may have been on the radar because they showed sort of no, I don't say remorse, but no emotion towards it. The relationship which you get into in the trial. So no one really knew how bad it was until the trial started. And they talk about the relationship in the trial. So they claimed that at the trial, the father was just, and he was. So the old man, it all comes down to him. He was like a corporate ladder. He just wanted to climb the corporate ladder. He was an accountant. He worked at a firm that he built his way up and he saved them from going bankrupt. He then got poached by Hertz. He worked his way up in Hertz, was running Hertz, American-wide. And then they were living in Princeton. And then RCA Records, remember RCA Records? They used to be like record label. He then ended up starting running their financial operations. So they moved to California. And everyone that sort of went against him was just like, everyone that worked for him was just saying he was just an A-grade a-hole. Right. Like he was one of the worst that you worked for. He didn't care about anyone. It was just all about money and climbing the ladder. And he just sacked people and he'd berate people in front of everyone. He was just a real hard ass. And he was with the kids as well. So when it got to trial, everyone found out about how bad he was. So the kids started doing tennis lessons. And there's on one of the podcasts I was listening to, Lyle, I think it was playing, or Erik was playing tennis in a competition. and he'd sprained his ankle, rolled his ankle bad, and he couldn't run. And the old man was in the stands just giving it to him, like yelling and abusing him and berating in front of everyone. People told him to sit down. And in the end, the brother turned around and told him to shut up and sit down. So it embarrassed the dad back because the dad was just all about power. And so he knew it wasn't over. And when he went and dragged him off the court, took him to the car and just punched him in the face, bashed his own son in front of her. So the dad was really hard. And he had everything had to be perfect. Like his kids had to be perfect. They had to get perfect marks at school. They had to be the best that they could be for tennis and their marks. Like he was really hard. And they come out in court that he also used to abuse them, sexually abuse them from when they were young. Now, the prosecution said they were just making that up to justify what they did. But the level of hatred in the crime, you'd have to think something happened. But there was the way the father was, you would have to think there was a lot of truth in it. Because how he was like one of those fathers, like the Demir Dockage Croppers, all those dads that were really, bad with their kids, like on top of him. But he went further because he was such a strong businessman. And he was just like, he was brutal with them, brutal with the mum. And so they hated the mum because she wasn't an enabler, but she stood back and did nothing about it. So the hatred came out, but you sort of sit on two sides. So the first trial was a hung jury. So when they told their story, and the thing was, 6 men found them not guilty and 6 ladies found them guilty.
Wow.
So you have to think, it depends how you take what had happened. Like was what they did justifiable for what they copped?
Yep.
But we weren't there. So you're not there. You don't know like the mental state that they're in after it and all that. And everyone said so there's actually a doco coming out on Netflix soon about it all. And they talk about the whole thing. And it really makes the dad seem like the monster that he was. And so people don't live it. And unless you're living it, you don't really understand the mental side. Go on, sorry.
Had they been in trouble before as kids?
No. Not really, because mate, they were so frightened of the dad.
Right.
And then, there was so many people lined up. It was sort of like that, American Gangster with Russell Crowe when he's telling Denzel, I've got people a mile long line up to go against you. And they ran with the witnesses for the trial. It was like that as well.
With the dad?
Yeah, because with the businesses and all that, everyone just hated the dad.
Yeah,
He was just ruthless.
So the kids pleaded guilty, but saying the reason
No,
why...
they would have played not guilty, but they would have gone under, they would have said, no, we did it. And see, my thing with these guys, what they did, had they done it differently, had they shot the parents, and because their story was actually changes. Their story was that the prosecution said that mum and dad were watching TV, but they said they were in the den with the parents, and the dad shut the door behind them. They got scared, so they ran and got their guns.
Okay.
In defense.
So it depends who you believe with it. It's all different, but I don't know where you sit. It just depends on how it is with it. I don't know, like the level of abuse they must have copped to do what they did must have been unbelievable.
I know what you're saying.
telling a snippet.
It obviously doesn't explain what they've done,
No.
but it maybe gives some backstory as to why.
Yeah.
Did they get life?
Yeah. At first they tried to give them the death penalty, but they fought that and got down to life. So in the first trial, everything was sort of explained, all the sexual abuse, everything.
Yeah.
The second trial come around, the prosecution went to court and got a lot of it removed. So they weren't allowed to say it in court. And I'm like, well, if you want to know the whole story, you got to let the whole thing go. I don't know why they did it. So the second one, they got found guilty and they're in jail. But there's actually now, so the cousin who knew about all the abuse, and one of the cousins used to stand up to the dad. So he's actually died, the cousin, but Lyle had sent a letter to him saying it's all started again. Dad, he's really bad. And this was years before this happened.
Okay.
So it
They
actually,
had that as evidence.
that's right. It actually shows that, they weren't lying about it. So that's actually come to the fore now. The mum was cleaning out the cousin's, when the cousin died, all the stuff, and she found the letter and she read it. So she's handed it to the lawyers. And so there's new evidence, whether or not they get a new trial, but you'd have to think based on that, it shows they're not lying.
Okay, so you've answered my next question. I know they got life, but as we know, life's not always life. But that's 35 years ago. So
So it's a fair whack.
So they are actually both still alive and both still in prison, are they?
Yeah, they're still alive. So they got moved. There's actually, me and Brooks were talking about this. There's a basketball card with this guy called Mark Jackson. I actually bought the card because sitting in the background, those like the hoop cards that you get graded and that, sitting in the background behind Mark Jackson are the 2 Menendez brothers after they killed.
way.
Yeah,
I like courtside.
courtside. You look it up.
After they had killed him.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're sitting courtside.
So what the prosecution, what were they saying the motive was for the boys to get the money?
Yeah, that's right. So that's what I said. If you look at the story now and take away the fact they went and spent, so showed not much, remorse or emotion around it, had they just called the police, I reckon, and said, we shot our parents and went to court with their story, I reckon for sure they get off.
It's a bit hard when, they're saying the father did all this abuse. Why the mother, though?
Well, she was like, she was there, so she did nothing about it. She did nothing to stop it. She knew about it and did nothing. And, he used to bash him in front of, people that used to come to, come to their houses and
How eerie is this, Brian? So this is what Toby's talking
Yeah.
about. So there they are in the front row at the
And this is
basketball.
after
Yeah. So,
they've done it.
So that's them basically
living the life.
living the life.
yeah, that's right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, had they just killed the parents how they wanted to?
Oh, look
But
at
then-
look, I mean, you said they were 2019, but look, they're just babies, aren't they?
that's right.
Wow.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the level of hatred to walk into a place with 2 shotguns and blow your parents away.
Whose guns were they?
They bought them. So this doesn't help. So I was listening to Barbara Walters interviewed them, and they went and bought the guns. And she's like, "Well, you went and bought the guns." And they're going, "Well, yeah, like we need a protection from Dad as well." Like, it's what you sort of believe. It's, you go to court, you're sitting there going, who did it? Like, how did they do it? And because they went and spent the money, they went and bought Rolexes, cars, and all that, and lived it up. It makes them look greedy.
Okay, so when the Netflix doco comes out and you knowing this story, what's your best guess of how they'll be portrayed? Do you think it'll be the dad who's the monster?
Well, you know what? Yeah,
there'll be a level of empathy
well,
around
that's
the
right. So
kids?
what will happen, I reckon, is you'll see the dad as the monster he was.
Yep.
But then you've got to, I suppose, judge it yourself as to was the repercussions for the dad worthy of what he did to them? Like, was it enough to affect everything? There's actually...
But if they've had, and again, we're not at all explaining it, clearly you can't, but if they've been tormented for 15, 16 years...
That's what I'm saying. Like, how...
Okay, did they go and see anyone professionally? Like, did they report the dad about
No,
the abuse?
they never said. They never talked about it.
So the psychologist...
Yeah, but you got to remember, he was 12 when he started seeing someone. So...
Who the kid?
Yeah, one of them was seeing counsellors from when he was 12. So do you, at that age, are you embarrassed to say things like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
But what's the explanation as to why that's unusual for a 12-year-old? Or it's not, when I say unusual, it's certainly not commonplace.
No.
So when he was 12...
So he was 12 when it started. He
that,
said it was like 11 or 12 when it started.
But had he reported that?
No, nothing
But
was
the other
reported
interesting
ever.
thing there,
But the
Toes,
dad
is
actually...
if the dad's such a control freak and on top of it, you're surprised that he would allow
Yeah, so
them.
the dad used to say to Lyle, "You're not allowed to tell Erik. Never allowed to tell Erik, or that's it for you." And then he used to do the same to the other one. So I think the Netflix, I was reading on a few reviews, and a lot of people saying it's glad that they actually show the dad in the light that he was.
Yep.
So then it's just going to come down to like it's just a single thing for you and me. Like, how do you judge it? Do you judge them as, as people who shouldn't have done what they did? Or do you think, well, we didn't live it for all those years. We didn't live, 9-8 years of sexual abuse and getting bashed and berated in front of all your friends and humiliated. So it's just, I suppose it comes down to your own sort of
Your own
beliefs.
version.
Your own versions. As it shows in the first trial, like 6 men said no, not guilty. Because some of them may have lived with some gone. It went so far, it was actually that big back then, that Cable Guy, remember the movie with Jim Carrey and all that?
Yeah.
They took it off. So Ben Stiller was saying he was Sam Sweet and his brother Stan was murdered, and they put him on the stand, and he looks exactly like the Menendez brothers, and they've got the audio from it here.
Today in the Sam Sweet case, the prosecution played the 911 call that Sam Sweet made the night he murdered his brother. Keep in mind, Mr. Sweet confessed 1 month later.
Oh my God, my kid brother's been shot. I think it was an Asian gang or something. I saw someone, he looked Asian, and he was speaking another language.
So they were taking the mickey.
Yeah,
That's-
100%.
That's audacious, though,
Yeah.
isn't it?
100%.
Couldn't
Oh,
do
mate,
that
yeah.
now.
No, so...
So the phone call, because it was the first one, the real one by the Menendez, did they say, because I couldn't really hear it, they said there's someone that broke in.
Well, they were just saying that parents have been shot, murdered. That's all they were saying. So he was acting it out, obviously. Like, they built themselves... Or
Did they leave the guns
maybe
there,
it was showing... Yeah, everything was there.
And they fingerprints and...
Well, actually, I don't know if the guns were there, actually. Sorry. May not have been, but, mate, they'd gone and bought the guns, so they found this all out. It was just weird that the police never did any residue checks or anything on the kids, because they're still 19, 20.
Hey, Toes, we've got to
Yeah.
wrap up because we've got to wrap this show up. Just before you go, though, speaking of True Crime Tuesday, has Brian put you onto The Lie?
Yeah, he has. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
No,
Oh,
not yet.
Toes.
He did put it. He only put it on the other day.
Yeah, you gotta
that's
watch it.
Fascinating.
Good.
Oh, fascinating.
That's the New Zealand girl.
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
No,
New Zealand,
no,
the girl in New Zealand.
the English
Yeah,
girl
yeah, yeah.
who's in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's
Exactly
right. Yeah, yeah.
You've got
I'll
to
have
go
a look
check
at
that
that.
out. Life good otherwise?
Mate, all good, all good. We may have a big interview coming up soon, hopefully.
Oh.
With Steve and
yeah.
Brooks, we're keeping it down, so...
Oh, okay. Don't even tell me. I
No.
like surprises.
Nah, That's pretty good.
It will be the biggest one for this show, easy.
Yeah.
Oh, if you
And we'll be
don't mind.
doing it personally, so hopefully...
So I'm going to give you a hint. Grassy knoll.
Oh, really? You can't help yourself, can you? You can't help yourself.
Just does that give it away? Actually, no, I won't do
No,
that.
it doesn't, but anyway.
No. Grassy knoll. Dealey Plaza. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. Good on you, mate.
That's all I'm saying.
Tobes, thank you very much,
Boys,
mate.
thank you very much.
Outstanding. One of your best True Crime Tuesdays too, by the way. He's getting very comfy in the chair, Brian.
Yeah,
I like it.
he is,
I like it.
I was when Brian was away and it was just you and me. And
Yeah, I
so
know.
it was good.